Have you ever been dedicated to helping someone and, in return, receive misunderstanding, irritation, or even hurt? Have you realized that even with the best intentions, your actions end up turning against you? Throughout my life, I have witnessed the scenario countless times and also lived on the skin itself. What we think is a gesture of pure generosity can, without realizing it, becoming something that gets in the way of what helps. My name is David, at least that's how I'm going to introduce myself here. From the years, I learned a fundamental lesson. Not all the help we offer brings joy. Not every well-meaning act really makes a difference. Sometimes he hurts. Other times, it creates dependence. And in many cases, it simply has no effect. In youth, I believed that true kindness was to do everything to my reach to relieve the suffering of others. I helped neighbors, friends, and even people I barely knew, always thinking, if I'm in a position to do something, then it's my duty to do so. It seemed a sacred principle, a golden rule to live. But the experience taught me that when the enthusiasm for help has no limits, we forget to respect essential boundaries. I will give a concrete example. I met a young man for whom he had great admiration. He faced a difficult time, problems at work, family misunderstandings, and financial squeezes. As a more experienced someone, I felt that it was my obligation to intervene. I gave advice, mobilized contacts, did everything that was within my reach. What was not my surprise when he walked away, saying that he felt controlled, as if his life was no longer yours. I was puzzled. After all, my intentions were the best possible. It was then that I understood the first crucial lesson. Boundless goodness can be destructive. In our hurry to fix the lives of others, we forget that often one only needs to be heard without receiving ready-made solutions or interference. But this is just the beginning. There are a number of misconceptions we have made by trying to help, small details that, without realizing it, undermine trust, deteriorate relationships, and even shake our own inner peace. I saw these mistakes not only in my career, but also in the lives of friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, people with a generous heart whose actions, however, ended up causing pain. This theme touches me deeply, especially because it was created within the tradition of Jewish wisdom. Our ancestors taught, he who saves a life saves the whole world, but no one has warned us that even saving can become a mistake when we don't know how to act the right way. As I used to say, my grandfather, a wise man who lived difficult times, goodness without discernment is like fire without control. It can warm, but it can also burn. Today, I want to share these lessons with you. I will talk about the 10 most common misconceptions we have made by helping others, errors that you may not even imagine you are practicing, but can ruin your relationships, generate frustration, and steal the satisfaction of your own actions. Let's understand why. Sometimes, our gestures of kindness produce the opposite effect to the desired, and, more importantly, how to make our help, in fact, a light in the life of those who receive it. We will approach when it is time to intervene and when we should only observe, when to offer advice and when to simply listen, when to give and when to allow the other to choose your own way. Follow until the end, because it is not just a list of errors, but real stories and practical tips for your kindness not to destroy, but really eliminate the lives of those you want to help. I can guarantee I've been in the place of those who believe that helping was synonymous with acting, that generosity means the number of things done, and that love was shown through interference. Only over time did I understand that true goodness is to see each other, understand their needs, respect their limits, and, above all, take care of yourself so that you call your soul delete. If you want to learn to help in a way that brings joy and light, stay until the end. Let's look at 10 traps together that prevent our goodness from being genuine and finding out how to turn good intentions into actions that, in fact, improve people's lives. When I say that goodness without limits can be dangerous, I'm not exaggerating. For years, I observed how the best intentions became sources of conflict and disappointment. Today, I will detail these 10 misconceptions and share how I learned to avoid them. The first mistake, the rush to fix the life of others. I remember a colleague who was going through a complicated period, no motivation, with a standing project and a lost look. I immediately involved, offering advice, presenting experts, and trying to resolve the situation. Instead of gratitude, however, I received irritation. He felt as if he was losing control over his own existence. The lesson I took: sometimes true help is not acting, but in being present and listening. The person knows what he needs. Many times she only wants someone by her side, without trying to change her. The second mistake, expect gratitude. How many times do we feel hurt when, after helping, we have not received a simple thank you? I've been through this. In his youth, he thought every kind gesture deserved recognition, but I learned a valuable truth, transmitted for generations: don't do good merit. Authentic kindness is not measured for thanks, but for the happiness we see in the eyes of the other and for the harmony that our actions generate. The third error, overwhelming. I used to say yes to all requests for help until the exhaustion, fatigue, and feeling of not realizing everything has come. The wisdom of my ancestors teaches one cannot donate what is not. If we do not take care of ourselves, our kindness is no longer a source of light and becomes a burden. I learned to select where my help is really necessary and where it will be effective. This is not selfishness, but conscious care with yourself and others. The fourth error, ignore the limits of others. Sometimes we think that if something is good for someone, that person must accept, but each has its own borders. I saw a well-meaning neighbor trying to impose aid to an elderly lord who felt humiliated and offended. She thought she was doing good, but in reality invaded her space. True goodness requires respect for the limits of the other. It does not impose. No strength. The fifth error, evaluate the needs. Often we act on the basis of what we think is better for the other, without considering what he really needs. I once gave a friend an expensive gift, thinking that would solve his problems and animate him. He was moved, but then confessed, what I needed most was his attention and time, not an object. The sixth error, excessive control. How many times I have seen well-meaning people trying to guide others by their ways as if they knew exactly which direction they should go. The life of each one is a personal journey, and when we exercise demand, we take something essential, the responsibility for their own choices. There are times when the best help is not to show the way, but to allow the other to find it, even if it means stumbling, making mistakes, and learning. A friend once told me, you can't carry someone on your back and still wait for him to learn to walk. Sometimes releasing is the greatest act of confidence we can offer. The seventh error, lack of patience. We live in an era of immediate results, and this haste infiltrates even our good intentions. I already got frustrated when, after offering help or advice, I did not see instant changes. But human life does not follow our schedule. The seeds we plant, be a word of encouragement, a gesture of support, or a moment of listening, need time to germinate. As an old proverb says, patience is the mother of wisdom. Learning to wait, without charging or discouraging, is an essential part of true help. The eighth error, neglect emotional support. We often reduce help to practical actions, money, advice, quick solutions. But how many people need, above all, to be seen, be heard without judgment? I remember a conversation with an older man who said to me, sometimes your silence is worth 1,000 words. It was then that I understood. To make room for the other to express their pains, fears, or hopes without haste, without trying to fix everything at the time, can be the greatest relief someone needs. The ninth error, not knowing how to say no. Fear of disappointing or selfish opinion leads us to assume more than we can give, but say yes to everything, without limits, exhausts our energy and dilutes our ability to help where it really matters. Learning to refuse with kindness is not a lack of kindness. It is an act of honesty with oneself and others. When we preserve our resources, our help becomes more genuine and sustainable. The 10th error, to think that the result depends only on us. How many times do we blame ourselves when, despite our efforts, things do not come out as we expected? Life is a complex web of factors, and our role is not to control the destiny of others, but to offer what is within our reach with humility. As one wise said, you can plant the tree, but the rain and the sun are in the hands of the sky. True goodness is in carefully sowing, without clinging to what will sprout. A final reflection. All these traps have something in common. We act without considering the whole of the other, its borders, its emotions, its rhythm, and often without respecting our own limits. But each error is a disguised lesson. My own journey taught me that when I stopped imposing help, when I learned to listen more than to speak, to respect the time of others, and to take care of myself, kindness began to flow in a lighter and more true way. I want you to understand, your kindness has power, but this power multiplies when it comes with understanding, patience, and wisdom. Do not help to feel important, help to illuminate, to relieve, to be present. Sometimes the biggest help is simply being there without haste, without expectations, without the need to be the hero of history. Now an invitation to the action. We know the 10 traps, the rush, the expectation of gratitude, the overload, the invasion of boundaries, the wrong assessment of needs, excessive control, impatience, emotional neglect, inability to say no, and the illusion of control. But what to do with this knowledge? Here are some guidelines that guided me. 1. Listen more than to speak. Many people do not need solutions. They need to be heard. Sometimes the greatest gift is to offer a safe space for the other to express themselves without interruption. 2. Respect limits yours and those of others. True help does not strength, does not invade. Ask, do you want me to help? Before acting. 3. Take care of yourself. You can't give what you don't have. Preserve your energy, your time, your peace. Goodness begins with it. 4. Trust the process. Changes take time. Do not be discouraged if you do not see immediate results. Plant with faith, even if the harvest takes time. 5. Act with joy, not by obligation. Genuine goodness does not seek rewards. She is satisfied with being a lighthouse, even if no one sees the light. 6. Be conscious. Before helping, ask yourself, does this come from the heart or my ego? Am I really meeting a necessity or projecting my desires? Think of your own life. How many times have you tried to help and felt something didn't work out? What if, instead of frustration, would you see an opportunity to learn there? Each experience, even those that look like flaws, brings us closer to a wiser and more authentic kindness. Remember, goodness without limits is not chaos. It is light that expands with respect, attention, and discernment. When we unite love and conscience, our gestures gain a force that transcends what we can measure. And if this dialogue resonated with you, I invite you to follow this space where we explore together how to live with more meaning, connection, and wisdom. Because goodness, after all, is not a destination, it is the way. Here we learn together, shared stories, and discover the wisdom that life offers us, and then conveying this light on. The next content will not only be passing advice, but deep lessons extracted from my own journey, the experiences of those who cross my way, and the ancestral wisdom that crosses generations. If you want your goodness to be genuine, to enlighten, cheerful, and create harmony, this is the place to be. Subscribing is not just one click, it is a commitment to yourself to live more aware, act more wisdom, and cultivate a goodness that is born from the heart. Take with it the essence of this meeting. True goodness is the light you sow, and that over time returns to you multiplied. It blooms when we act with discernment, attention, and respect both for others and ourselves. Remember, each little gesture counts, each moment of care. Seed conscious choice is a seed planted in building a better world, and this world begins within each of us. Therefore, take these reflections to your daily life, for each meeting, for each action. May your goodness be a light without borders, but always guided by wisdom, patience, and love.